Title: The Missing Vows. The soft strains of a string quartet filled the air, weaving a tapestry of romance that wrapped around the elegantly decorated waiting room. Miranda sat on a plush velvet chair, her heart fluttering with excitement and nerves. She adjusted her veil, the delicate lace brushing against her cheeks, and glanced at the ornate clock on the wall. 10 minutes until the ceremony. But as the minutes ticked by, a heavy silence settled in the room, punctuated only by the occasional rustle of fabric or the soft murmur of her bridesmaids. A knot of unease tightened in her stomach, and she could feel the warmth of anticipation begin to chill. Then, the door swung open, and the wedding planner rushed in, her face pale as a ghost. "Miranda, we need to talk," she said, her voice trembling. "What is it? Is everything okay?" Miranda's heart raced. The planner hesitated, her eyes darting nervously. "It's about Jake, he hasn't shown up." Miranda's laughter echoed in the room, a nervous, disbelieving sound. "What do you mean he hasn't shown up? He's probably just stuck in traffic. You know how he is with time." But the planner shook her head, her expression grave. "We've called his phone. His family, no one knows where he is." The laughter died in Miranda's throat, replaced by a cold dread. She stood up, her wedding gown swirling around her like a storm cloud. "I need to find him," she said, her voice firm despite the tremor in her hands. As she stepped out of the waiting room, the world outside felt surreal, as if she had crossed into another dimension. The sun shone brightly, but the warmth did little to ease the chill creeping up her spine. She moved through the venue, her heels clicking against the polished floor, searching every corner, every shadow, but Jake was nowhere to be found. Miranda's mind raced. Had he changed his mind? Was he even on his way? 1,000 thoughts collided in her head as she pushed through the double doors and stepped outside. The garden, usually a picture of serenity, felt like a maze, each path leading to a dead end. She spotted a group of guests mingling, laughter spilling from their lips, but the joy around her only deepened her sense of loss. "Has anyone seen Jake?" she called out, her voice strained. A few heads shook, and the laughter faded into a hush. Panic began to claw at her insides. She hurried down the stone path, glancing at her phone, hoping for a message that would explain everything. But there was nothing. Just as she reached the edge of the garden, a figure caught her eye, a woman standing by a sleek black car, her long hair cascading down her back. Something about the way she held herself felt familiar, and as Miranda approached, her heart sank. The woman turned, and Miranda's breath caught in her throat. It was Sophie, Jake's childhood friend. The two had never gotten along, and the tension between them had always been palpable. "Sophie," Miranda said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Where's Jake?" Sophie's expression was unreadable, but in her eyes, Miranda saw a flicker of something: guilt? Regret? "I don't know how to tell you this," she stammered. "He called me earlier. He said he couldn't go through with it." Miranda felt the world tilt beneath her feet. "What? Why? You have to be lying." Sophie shook her head, tears glistening in her eyes. "He said he was scared. He didn't think he was ready. He loves you, Miranda. But he couldn't do it." Miranda staggered back, her heart shattering with each word. "He loves me?" she echoed, disbelief mingling with heartbreak. "Then why is he not here?" "I don't know," Sophie admitted, her voice trembling. "But he's gone. I am so sorry." As the weight of the truth settled over her, Miranda felt the tears spill down her cheeks. The dress she had dreamed of wearing, the vows she had rehearsed in her mind, now felt like a cruel joke. "Maybe he'll come back," Sophie offered, her voice a soft whisper. But deep down, Miranda knew that something had shifted irrevocably. As she turned away from the garden, the wedding she had envisioned began to fade into a distant memory, leaving her standing alone, clutching a bouquet of wilting flowers, wondering if love was ever enough to bind two hearts together. And in that moment, she realized that sometimes, the most painful truths are the ones we never see coming.